Running AI on your own machine should be simple, right? You install a model, you point it at your agent and go. But I gotta tell you, it's actually not. You have to configure the files, add these little parameters, figure out this temperature and say, why is my tool calling broken? So when I found out there are some people who actually train AI models that built their own agent, I wanted to know what the sauce was. And does this actually make local models easier? I dug into the repo and here's what I found. Hermes Agent is made by Nous Research. They're a research lab that actually trains open source models. You may not have heard of them. And honestly, that's part of actually why I wanted to make this whole video, is that they're one of those teams who's just really locked in and good at what they do. They basically fly under the radar because they're so focused on research and not just hyping everything. And so let me just kind of break it down a little bit. They basically have built these AI models, and they also built this agent that uses those models. And what's interesting is that they actually open source the whole thing. So let me just kind of tell you what this actually means. You basically can talk to the model, it remembers it, but it's just not in the moment that it remembers it. It actually writes stuff down. It learns and then it pulls that stuff back up later. It's kind of crazy if you think about it. And it actually works wherever you're already running these models, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, Ollama, local models, or even on your own machine. It doesn't care where you are, whether it's Telegram, Discord, Slack, the terminal. You can just start a conversation on your phone and then pick back up onto your laptop. That's all useful and all, but if that's all it did, I wouldn't actually be making this video. There are plenty of agents that do those things. And here's actually where it gets a little bit different. Most agents support local models. And what this means is that you can actually point them to something like Ollama and just kind of hope it works. But remember, these are the people who trained these models. And their version of a local support actually looks completely different. Let me show you what I mean. So if you're running VLLM, there are a couple flags that you have to set, and one of them is literally called Tool Call Parser Hermes. It's built specifically for Nous Research models, and the model and the agent were actually designed to talk to each other. If you're running Ollama, you just run Hermes model, and then you select Ollama, and then just pick your model. It knows the right parameters because they actually trained the model, but that's just the setup, and here's where it actually gets really practical. So you can actually route different tasks to different models. If you're doing something with vision, send that to the small local model. If you're doing web page summarization, same thing. Heavy reasoning, send that over to Claude, maybe even something bigger. So you can have one agent that can use multiple models in this way that's really unique, and they're all doing what they're really good at. And if you've ever run a local model and wondered, why am I just burning my GPU on summarization when a tiny model can do that and do it even faster? This is the answer. There's a part that's genuinely unique here that I find really interesting. Every other agent normally just uses the model. This specific agent can actually help you improve the model. And let me explain a little bit more. So your conversations with Hermes actually become training data. That's right. They actually build tools specifically for this. And you can take those conversations and then fine tune the model to be better at what you actually need. Just think about what it can do for your business and whatever other types of things that you're doing in your local environments. So you could just basically run a local model, use the agents, generate the training data, and then the model actually gets better and you just keep repeating. It's kind of crazy, right? Nobody really else gives you this right out of the box. And this is why I'm super excited about this. So you're probably thinking, where does this fit for me? I use my own OpenClaw every day with memory and messages, and I have a whole entire workflow and I really like it. And that's not going to change. But OpenClaw was built by a community focused on messaging and workflow and a bunch of other great tools. Hermes was built by a research lab that's actually focused on models and training. And they actually offer different strengths. And I actually want both. This is the first video in the series, and next I'm going to deep dive on Hermes and how it actually handles memory, because that's where it gets really, really interesting. And I'm going to also install it on my DGX Spark, running local models live on stream. And where I'm eventually headed is that I want these two agents basically talking to each other, using different agents, different hardware, and they're all going to be working together. And that's basically what I want to build. And if you want to figure this stuff out with me, just put your name on my free list at startmy.ai.